With us now, NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns in Butler, Pennsylvania. Matthew Dowd, chief strategist for the Bush-Cheney 2004 presidential campaign and a senior MSNBC political analyst. And Juanita Tolliver, MSNBC political analyst and author of the upcoming book, A More Perfect Party: The Night Shirley Chisholm and Diane Carroll Reshaped Politics. Dasha, you were at Trump's event in Butler in July when those shots rang out. I remember that it was just right before the beginning of NBC Nightly News, and everything happened in real time. What is the symbolism behind Donald Trump returning to Butler?
Well, look, Jose, the Trump campaign wants to make this a significant moment for the former president and for this community. So many people impacted here, so many of those rally goers impacted. The list of speakers is long. It includes first responders. It includes the family of Corey Comparator, who is the man that was shot and killed at this rally, and some of the folks who were injured and the families of those people as well. Jose, this is something that really is a bit of catharsis, a bit of a healing process for the people who were here. I interviewed several of the rally goers right in the aftermath of that event, and I went back and spoke with some of them, including a mother-son, Donna and Joe. They're planning to come back here tomorrow. I asked them why. Take a listen. Why are you going back?
I'm going back for a few reasons. Number one, Joey wants to go. I'm going back for that, number one. Number two, I believe in President Trump. I believe in this country. I believe this is our last chance.
Just like get to prove to these people they don't get to scare us. Just get to shove it to them. You know, you're not gonna scare us away from the ballots. You're not gonna scare us away from the rallies.
Jose, there are also some big names attending this rally. Elon Musk tweeted earlier this morning that he's planning to be there. And I will tell you, the security posture could not be more different from the last time that we were here. The entire area is a lockdown fortress. You can't really get anywhere near the rally site. Whereas we were chatting with some of the merchandise vendors behind me. They said last time they were here, they were able to roam the site pretty freely, check out where everything was getting set up. Now security's turning people away. There are line of sight blockades, shipping containers, and other big items that are blocking line of sight from outside of the rally. And of course, the security posture, Secret Service, Pennsylvania State Police, local law enforcement, emergency management, all of that out in full force here, Jose.
Dasha, you are an extraordinary journalist, but I just want to ask you on a personal note, what are you thinking?
Thank you for asking, Jose. I weighed the decision whether or not I wanted to come here, to be honest with you, because it is something that I didn't expect. I didn't expect to have the reaction I had to this. It was a challenge in the days and weeks afterwards, and it does feel a little strange to be back here. There's an unsettled feeling, but at the same time, you know, Donna told me, the woman you just heard from there, that she did some trauma therapy afterwards. I did too, and that her therapist told her that this was a step in that healing process. And I think, you know, I feel really similarly that, you know, coming back here and being with the people who experienced this, my fellow journalists and crews and the rally goers. I mean, everyone went through this together, and so to be back and to speak to some of those people again and all check in on each other, see where we're at, see how we're coping. That's been really important, Jose.
Dasha Burns, extraordinary journalist, extraordinary human being. Thank you very much, Dasha. Matthew, the assassination attempt on Trump in Butler was a big moment in the campaign. What will returning to Butler mean for the Trump campaign?
I mean, my perception of this from a campaign standpoint is I don't think it's going to have any movement or any its persuasion on voters. I think, to me, this is much more about Donald Trump and what he's going through and what he, you know, the part he wants to play in this than it has to do with voters. I'm actually surprised they're going back again to here. I mean, it to me, as I say, it's much more about, like, I guess, Donald Trump personally and what he wants to experience, as opposed to, I think, what's going to impact voters around Pennsylvania or in any of the 7 target states.
Let's talk a little, Matthew, a bit about Liz Cheney was with the vice president at her rally in Wisconsin last night. President Biden praised Cheney, saying it took courage to do what she did. How, Matthew, unusual is this?
Oh, it's highly unusual and a historic moment. To me, I've made it akin to if Barry Goldwater in 1964, who ran against LBJ, who was a conservative and started the conservative movement, ran and lost. If after the election he said, I'm ready to support LBJ and serve in his cabinet, it would be the same magnitude as this. She is a diehard red conservative who stood the line on conservatism and her family for decades in this. And for her to endorse a former senator from California who served under Joe Biden as vice president is historic. And to me, the impact it will have is twofold. One, I think it sends a signal to independent voters that vice president can be bipartisan, will approach this in welcoming in all people of political persuasions. But two is those soft Republicans who don't feel like they can make a leap to vote for Vice President Harris. I think Liz Cheney sends them a signal as basically says, if you can't vote for Harris, which she says she wants them to, then just go ahead and skip and don't vote for the presidential race, which could have actually more impact than the persuasion of independent voters.
Yeah, interesting. What are just your thoughts on this? I mean, Dick Cheney, along with former Vice President Mike Pence, got applause when their names were mentioned last night. Is there any cost for Democrats to be bringing in the Cheney family?
I feel like the cost is outweighed by the potential reward here, Jose, because this is something that is an extension of what we saw on the Democratic convention stage, where plenty of Republicans were invited to speak and kind of present this on-ramp for disaffected Republicans and independent voters to supporting Vice President Harris. But something that Matt mentioned about the historic significance of this, I think, is also tied to the historic threat that these individuals collectively view in Donald Trump, right? What other scenario would we see headlines of Vice President Harris on stage with Liz Cheney and then next week on stage with former President Barack Obama, except for in this sense of a need to build a coalition to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office? I think it comes down to the main themes that were stated on stage in Wisconsin yesterday by both Liz Cheney and Vice President Harris, that this is about preserving and protecting the Constitution. This is about preserving and protecting our democracy. And that's a message that appeals to Republicans, independents, and Democrats so that they can align in November.
And Juanita, former President Obama is set to campaign for Vice President Harris, a key battleground state, starting with an appearance in Pennsylvania next week. We also saw Bruce Springsteen endorsing Harris yesterday. How much of these endorsements helped the Harris campaign? And there is no doubt a big difference between celebrities and someone like Barack Obama, but even though he is a celebrity, but the weight that he carries is,
he's still one of the most popular, if not the most popular Democrat in the nation, right? And so I think that having him out on the campaign trail, getting the endorsement from Bruce Springsteen, these are critical in terms of mobilization. Remember, Jose, early voting started, 10, 12 days ago? So now it's about getting people to return those absentee ballots, mail in their ballots, finish voter registration as deadlines approach, and get to the polls in November. So these endorsements are absolutely going to be part of that mobilization. Remember, Barack Obama, not only is he popular, but he's one of the best dynamic orators in politics. And so having that voice out on the campaign trail, that familiar voice that'll bring up a lot of nostalgia and good feelings, not only for Democrats, but some independents. I think that's going to be really help buttress the coalition again that Vice President Harris is developing.
Matthew Dowd and Juanita Tolliver, thank you both so very much.